Welcome to Stories for Sleep, where scientific stories are retold in a slow, gentle rhythm, soft enough for your mind to loosen its grip and deep enough to carry you gradually into natural sleep. In the modern world, we are accustomed to bright lights, relentless sounds, and streams of thought that never seem to stop. Even after we lie down, the mind continues to work as if it has forgotten how to rest. Today's video was created for that very moment. The most relaxing facts about coral reefs to help you sleep is not a science lecture, nor is it a fast-paced documentary filled with information. It is a slow journey, one that takes you deep into the ocean, where the light gradually softens, where the rhythm of life becomes fluid, and where existence follows ancient cycles calm and precise in a way that feels almost uncanny. Coral reefs, living cities on the ocean floor, are built by tiny creatures, unhurried, unloud, yet resilient enough to endure thousands of years of change on Earth. As you listen to their story, you are not only learning about the ocean but also being reminded of another way of living, a rhythm that does not require haste, does not demand control, but simply asks for attunement. So find a comfortable position, dim the light around you, and let this voice accompany you. There is no need to try to sleep. Just listen. Sleep will come like the tide at night. There are evenings when the body is already still, yet the mind continues to drift. Thoughts move like small waves, layer after layer, never violent yet never quite settling. Modern humans are very good at staying awake, but have gradually forgotten how to rest from within. We are used to sound, light movement, used to having to understand, respond, grasp. And even with our eyes closed, the mind keeps swimming through the invisible currents of a long day. That is when we need something that asks for no effort, demands no focus, and simply exists gently. In this video, we will descend together, not to the physical depths of the ocean, but to a deeper layer of sensation, to the place where coral reefs exist. Coral reefs are not loud. They do not move quickly. They do not chase. They do not compete. And yet it is precisely there that life reaches a density and delicacy that is astonishing. From the perspective of Carl Jung, systems like coral reefs resemble the collective unconscious, a space where countless tiny individuals interlink into a living whole, operating without a central controller, yet maintaining order, rhythm, and memory. When we look at coral reefs, we are not only seeing biology, we are witnessing a living symbol. Millions of tiny polyps, each performing one very small task, repeated patiently over vast spans of time, have built structures large enough to alter ocean currents, to slow waves, to provide shelter for countless other forms of life. There is no grand plan, no ambition, only quiet persistence. And it is precisely this that makes coral reefs one of the most relaxing places the human mind can visit. In the journey ahead, you will not need to remember species names, you will not need to understand scientific terminology, you will not need to follow strict logic. You only need to listen. Listen to how coral reefs are built by creatures that are almost invisible. Listen to an ecosystem where cooperation matters more than competition. Listen to forms of communication that lie beyond human senses, light, vibration, distant sounds beneath the water. We will move through the remarkable adaptability of coral, through the way they store the ocean's memory, and finally through the rhythms of day and night, moon and tide, that conduct the entire system like a slow cosmic piece of music. Carl Jung once said that human beings truly rest only when the mind touches images older than itself. Coral reefs are one such image. They remind us that life does not need to be loud to be powerful. It does not need to be fast to be enduring. It does not need control in order to survive. If you are tired right now, allow yourself to stop trying. If you feel tense, let your breath slow down like waves meeting the reef. This video was not created to keep you awake until the end. It was created so that if you drift into sleep at any moment, that too is perfectly right. The descent into the coral reef has already begun, and you only need to let your mind drift along. Part 1. Coral, the tiny architects of the ocean. If you could descend very slowly through deep blue water, through layers of light that gradually fade, you would not immediately see monumental structures. You would not see towers, no ramparts, no domes or plazas. You would see creatures so small they are almost nameless, coral polyps, soft, fragile bodies only a few millimeters wide, without bones, without brains, without eyes, unable to move in ways we recognize. And yet from these very beings, entire coral reefs are built, not in a year, not in a lifetime, but over thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of years. Each polyp lives a very brief life. It is born, attaches itself to rock, secretes a thin layer of mineral, and then dies. That mineral layer does not disappear. It remains. Then the next generation arrives, repeats the same action, precisely, unhurried, without deviation, layer by layer, layer by layer, layer by layer, like small stones placed in the same spot by hands that have no knowledge of the overall design. And then, over sufficient time, those stones become towers, walls, plateaus, labyrinths, even spaces that humans can only describe in their own language as underwater cathedrals. Structures large enough to bend ocean currents, strong enough to soften waves, complex enough to become shelter for millions of other beings. What astonishes humans is not only the beauty of coral reefs, but the way they are created. There is no command center, no master architect, no complete blueprint seen in advance. Each polyp knows only one thing: to continue performing its small task in the right place, in the right way, at the right rhythm. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, this is a profoundly resonant image of the collective unconscious, a system in which order does not arise from control, but from the faithful repetition of fundamental behaviors passed through time. Without conscious awareness, Jung wrote that the most enduring structures of the psyche are not created by logical thought, but by ancient patterns repeated long enough. Coral reefs are such a pattern, but in biological form. The polyps do not intend to build a reef. They have no concept of the future. They simply live according to their instinct. And it is precisely this lack of ambition that gives rise to structures beyond all ambition. When you look at a coral reef, you are seeing time made solid. Not time measured by clocks, but time measured in layers of life stacked upon one another. Each layer is a lifetime. Each lifetime is a moment. And all of them coexist within a single structure. This touches something very deep in the human psyche, the sense that not everything of value needs to be completed within one lifetime. Coral reefs do not rush. They do not fear missing out. They do not worry about being not enough. They simply continue. And because of this, they can endure waves, storms, and environmental changes that unfold over centuries. Not because they are rigid, but because they are made of countless soft things. A single polyp is fragile, but millions of polyps linked across time become something the ocean itself must respect. There is a very quiet lesson here, one that does not need to be named. That strength does not necessarily come from speed. It does not need breakthroughs. It does not need a clenched will. Sometimes strength comes from staying with a slow rhythm, staying with a small action, staying long enough for time to do the rest. As you listen to this part before sleep, your mind does not need to understand coral architecture. It only needs to feel. Feel the patience. Feel the safety of repetition. Feel the thought that you do not need to resolve everything right now. Like a coral polyp, you can rest in the present moment and allow the deeper layers of the mind to continue building while you sleep. In the next part, we will leave the image of architecture and step into the densest living network of the ocean, where every tiny crevice holds a world of its own. For now, let your breathing slow just a little, like mineral layers quietly settling on the ocean floor. Part 2. Coral reefs, the densest network of life in the ocean, from the quiet mineral layers left behind by coral polyps. From the towers and labyrinths formed over deep-time coral, reefs gradually become something far greater than the materials from which they are made. If, in the previous part, We saw coral reefs as structures built through patience. In this part, we begin to see life flowing into every crevice. Because a coral reef is not just rock, it is space. And in the ocean, space is life. Within a very small area, far smaller than most terrestrial ecosystems, coral reefs contain a number of species and a density of interactions that surpass even tropical rainforests. Not because the ocean is more generous, but because coral reefs divide space to an extreme degree. Every crack, every rocky surface, every coral branch, every thin shadow between layers of structure, all of it becomes an address for life. There is no wasted space, no meaningless gap. Here, 1 square centimeter can contain more forms of life than an entire square meter of barren seafloor. Small fish shelter among coral branches. Crustaceans hide beneath layers of rock. Mollusks cling tightly to surfaces. Invisible microorganisms fill every remaining space. There is no true silence, only activity, unfolding at scales too small for the human eye to perceive. If you could magnify a coral reef the way one might magnify a cross-section of the mind, you would see that there is no clear boundary between me and not me. Every being passes through another. The waste of one species becomes nourishment for another. The movement of fish changes water flow for microorganisms. Light reflected from fish scales becomes a signal for other creatures to read. No one lives in isolation. No one exists alone. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, this is a vivid image of the collective unconscious, a psychological layer where individuals are not separate but interwoven, overlapping and influencing one another without clear awareness. Jung wrote, "The psyche is not of today. Its ancestry goes back many millions of years. The mind does not belong only to the present. It is the result of countless layers of life stacked upon one another." Coral reefs are the same. Each organism within the reef knows only a very small part of the system. No species understands the entire structure, and yet the entire structure functions. There is no center of power, no commander, no master plan, only continuous interaction. In a coral reef, survival does not come from individual strength, but from the density of connections. Large fish cannot exist without small fish. Small fish cannot exist without coral. Coral cannot exist without microorganisms. Microorganisms cannot exist without the currents created by all the other species. This is not a simple food chain. It is a network, and within that network, each organism is a node. Jung once said, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." A coral reef may look chaotic to the human eye, but within it lies a delicate order, maintained by millions of small interactions. What makes coral reefs deeply relaxing is not only their colors or slow movements, but the feeling of being held. There is no empty space that provokes anxiety, no cold, vacant void. Everything is filled not with matter but with presence. When humans feel exhausted, what they often lack is not energy, but a sense of connection. At a symbolic level, coral reefs show us a world where no one needs to stand out to have value. Even invisible beings play irreplaceable roles. This touches a very deep fatigue of modern life, the exhaustion of having to be someone to have a defined position to be seen. In a coral reef, life does not need recognition. It only needs to keep interacting. As you listen to this part before sleep, perhaps something in you is beginning to soften, because your mind recognizes that you do not have to carry everything alone. There are invisible networks that have been supporting you all along, just as coral reefs support the ocean around them. You do not need to understand these networks. You only need to be within them. In the next part, we will go even deeper into forms of communication and perception beyond human senses, where light, sound, vibration, and chemicals become the primary languages of life. For now, notice your breathing, slow, steady, like water flowing gently through each small crevice of the coral reef. Part 3. Communication and perception beyond human senses. If in the previous part we saw coral reefs as a dense living network where no organism exists alone, then in this part we begin to listen to how that network whispers to itself. Because life within a coral reef is not only connected through space, but also through invisible languages that humans rarely notice. Beneath the ocean, communication does not require words. It does not need syllables. It does not need concepts. It takes place through light, through vibration, through chemicals, through the smallest changes in the environment so subtle that only bodies that have lived long enough in water can truly hear them. Fish in coral reefs do not see color the way humans do. They perceive ultraviolet light hidden patterns on coral surfaces, signals that the human eye completely misses. A coral branch is not merely beautiful, it is a signboard. Its colors change with the light. Its reflections shift with the angle of view. All of this carries information about shelter, about danger, about the right moment to approach or to keep distance. Here, light is not only for seeing, it is language. Sound is language as well. The ocean is not silent. It is only silent to human ears. Coral reefs produce constant sound. The snapping of shrimp fish brushing against rock. The movement of water through complex structures. For fish larvae, tiny beings drifting through the open ocean, the sound of a reef is a map. They do not see the reef from afar. They hear it. Studies show that larvae can orient themselves simply by listening to the characteristic sound of a reef, like a call from very far away, very soft, yet strong enough to guide them. No instructions, no complex memory, only the ability to sense the right frequency. Corals, creatures that appear motionless, are also listening. They sense chemical changes in the water, tiny fluctuations in pH, shifts in pressure before a storm, the seasonal movement of light. When conditions change, corals do not panic. They adjust. They retract their tentacles, secrete more mucus, alter their metabolic rhythm. No thinking, no conscious decision. Only the natural response of a body that has merged with its environment. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." The unconscious is not merely the dark part, it is the place where the deepest forms of intelligence reside, intelligences that do not need to be named. A coral reef is a living form of the ocean's unconscious. Here, information is not processed through reasoning but through direct sensation. Smell in water is not merely smell, it is biological signal. A chemical molecule released by an injured organism can travel far, becoming a warning for the entire area. There is no need to see the danger, no need to touch it. It only needs to be sensed. Vibration, too, is language. A small movement can be perceived through water by sensory organs humans do not possess. Water carries vibration better than air, and coral reefs amplify it. Here, every movement leaves a trace. No action disappears completely. This creates a very different feeling from the human world. On land, we are used to separation, action, and consequence, cause and effect. In coral reefs, everything overlaps. A small vibration can spread outward and become the response of the entire system. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." In coral reefs, there is no other in a separate sense, only continuous feedback. And it is precisely this that makes coral reefs both complex and deeply peaceful. No arguments, no explanations, no persuasion. Information flows and responses arise like a current. When humans look at coral reefs and feel relaxed, it is not only because of color or slow movement. It is because a very deep part of the mind recognizes this truth. There are ways of existing that do not require saying everything. There are ways of understanding that do not require language. As you listen to this part before sleep, notice that your mind does not need to hold on to every word. You do not need to understand with your head. You only need to feel through your breath, through the gentle softening of your body. Like a coral reef, you do not need to react quickly. You only need to receive. In the next part, we will see how all these silent forms of communication condense into cooperation, a quiet collaboration that creates resilience where there are no heroes, only long-term coexistence. And for now, let the sound of the coral reef, even if you cannot hear it, carry you slowly into sleep. Part 4. Quiet cooperation that creates resilience. From dim signals of light, from vibrations and scents drifting through the water, the coral reef does not merely listen to itself, it responds through cooperation. If in the previous part we saw how coral reefs communicate without words, then in this part we begin to recognize something deeper. Life here does not survive through competition, but through subtle coordination, sustained over time. No species is strong enough to live alone. No organism is an absolute center. The coral reef functions like a vast body in which every component, no matter how small, holds an irreplaceable role. At the heart of it all lies the quiet relationship between corals and their symbiotic algae. The algae live within coral tissue. They absorb sunlight and transform it into energy. The corals provide shelter, minerals, and a stable environment. No one owns the other. No one dominates. There is only sharing. Light from the sun, a distant source of energy, is passed through algae into corals and then radiates outward across the entire reef. This is not merely biological symbiosis. It is an archetypal image. Carl Jung once wrote, "Life is a process of becoming a combination of states we have to go through." Life does not remain fixed in one condition. It exists through continuous combination. Fish in coral reefs are not merely visitors. They are circulation. They carry nutrients. They consume excess algae, preventing corals from being smothered. Their movement creates new currents, bringing oxygen and nourishment into the smallest crevices. No commands are given. No plans are drawn. Each species simply does what it was born to do. In more hidden corners, shrimp and crabs perform work few notice, cleaning, protecting, removing parasites, even healing fish and corals. They receive no reward, no recognition. Yet without them, the entire system would weaken quickly. And then there are bacteria, invisible beings, without clear form, without personality. They recycle waste. They transform what is discarded into new sources of life. There is no concept of trash in a coral reef. There is only flow. Jung once said, "What we do not make conscious appears in our lives as fate. What we do not see is still at work." The coral reef reminds us the invisible parts are often the most essential. This entire ecosystem is not sustained by visible strength, but by prolonged, quiet cooperation. There are no explosive moments, no triumphant victories, only endurance. And that endurance comes from allowing every component to be exactly what it is. No need to become bigger, no need to be faster, no need to stand out, only to be appropriate. This touches a very deep fatigue in modern humans, the exhaustion of constant competition, of proving worth, of having to be more than others. The coral reef is different. Here, value does not come from superiority, but from long-term suitability. A species that becomes too aggressive disrupts balance. A species that grows too dominant eventually harms the very system that sustains it. The coral reef does not judge, it adjusts. When one component falls out of balance, others respond slowly, gently, without extremity. Like the human body healing itself when given enough time and the right conditions. Carl Jung once wrote, "The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers." In a coral reef, no one is pushed to the edge, because the system is built to distribute pressure, not to place the entire burden on a single being. As you listen to this part before sleep, you may feel a subtle lightness, difficult to name, because deep within your mind recognizes this truth. You do not have to carry everything alone. There are networks supporting you even when you cannot see them. like a coral reef, life does not persist through individual effort alone, but through the resonance of countless small things. In the next part, we will move into another dimension, the remarkable capacity for adaptation, where coral reefs not only cooperate to survive, but also learn to transform themselves in conditions that seem impossible to endure. And for now, let your breath be supported by this thought: you are not alone within the ecosystem of your life, and within that feeling, you may slowly rest. Part 5. A remarkable capacity for adaptation. After listening to the quiet cooperation that has kept coral reefs standing for thousands of years, we begin to notice something else. Subtle, yet no less powerful coral reefs do not exist, because the world is gentle, but because they know how to change with the world. The resilience of coral reefs does not come from resisting the environment, but from listening, adjusting, and yielding at the right moment. In the previous part, we saw how each organism shares responsibility for survival with others. But cooperation alone is not enough, because the ocean is never stable. Temperatures shift, salinity fluctuates, light is sometimes abundant, sometimes scarce. Currents move and change. Storms, volcanoes, sediment, fresh water flowing from land. And through all of these transformations, corals remain. They exist in places humans call uninhabitable hot waters near hydrothermal vents, seas so salty they dry the skin, regions so poor in nutrients they seem almost empty, dark caves without light, beneath sand, beneath mud, near river mouths clouded with silt. Corals do not move. They do not flee. They do not seek safer ground. They change themselves. Some coral species can change their symbiotic algae, like changing partners to adapt to new conditions. When light becomes too intense, they select algae that tolerate heat better. When conditions grow harsh, they adjust their pigments to reflect excess energy, not to defeat the environment, but to avoid being destroyed by it. At times, corals secrete a thin layer of mucus like a temporary garment, protecting their bodies from pollution, bacteria, or sudden chemical shifts. At other times, they choose to sacrifice. An outer branch that is damaged is let go so the inner core can survive. From a human perspective, this may look like loss, but from the reef's perspective, it is a wise decision. Carl Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Corals are not defined by what happens to them: rising temperatures, murky water acidification. They are defined by how they respond. Even more, from a small fragment, coral can regenerate. A broken branch, a piece carried away by currents, if it finds suitable conditions, can become the beginning of a new reef. No perfect past is required. No intact form is necessary. Only the ability to begin again. Here we touch a very deep layer of meaning in Jungian psychology. Life does not develop in a straight line, but through cycles of adaptation. Jung called this the process of individuation, becoming oneself, not by remaining unchanged, but by integrating change. Corals are not hard. They are not fixed. They do not cling to their original form. They are flexible without dissolving. And this, if listened to long enough, touches a familiar weariness in human beings, the exhaustion of trying to remain the same while the world has already changed. Corals do not do this. They allow themselves to become different in order to continue existing, sometimes brighter, sometimes dimmer, sometimes contracting, sometimes spreading, without judgment, without regret. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown." Coral reefs do not solve the ocean. They grow along with it. As you listen to this part before sleep, you may be in a phase where the world around you has changed faster than your ability to adapt. You may be trying to hold on to an older version of yourself, a way of living, a relationship, a belief, while your inner environment has already shifted. Coral reefs do not tell you to leave. They do not tell you to resist. They whisper something very different. Adjust, gently. Let go of what no longer fits. Trust that from fragments new life can still emerge. No urgency, no drama, only small changes accumulating over long periods of time. And as your body begins to soften, as your breathing slows, notice this feeling: you do not need to be rigid to survive. Flexibility, too, is a profound form of strength. In the next part, we will enter another dimension of time, coral reefs, as archives of Earth's memory, where each layer of limestone records the history of the ocean, much like memory is stored in the human unconscious. And for now, let this thought drift slowly through your mind. Not every change you are experiencing is necessarily a loss. It may be how life is learning to continue, and within that gentle acceptance, you may slowly sink into deeper sleep. Part 6. Coral Reefs as the Earth's archive of memory. After quietly observing how coral reefs adapt, sacrifice, and regenerate, we might think that their story revolves only around the present moment and survival. But when we look deeper, very deep, we begin to realize that corals are not only living, they are remembering. Each layer of coral skeleton that forms is not created solely to withstand waves and storms, but also to preserve a moment of the ocean. The temperature of the water, its salinity, the chemistry of the sea, currents, sea levels, ancient climates, all of this is etched into that skeleton quietly, precisely, without judgment. Like the growth rings of a tree, each coral layer is a mark of time. Not human time, but planetary time. In the previous part, we saw corals changing in order to survive. In this part, we realize that every change is recorded. No memory is discarded. Even when corals change their symbiotic algae, even when a branch is sacrificed, even when a reef is broken and later reborn, everything leaves a trace. A coral reef, therefore, is not only a spatial structure, but a temporal one. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Coral reefs are like the unconscious of the earth. They do not speak. They do not explain. They do not tell stories in words, but they remember everything. Ice ages, periods of warming, shifts in ocean currents, times when the sea became more acidic, moments when sea levels rose and fell. All of it lies within their skeletons, millimeter by millimeter. Humans have only recently learned how to read these memories, but coral reefs have been recording them for hundreds of thousands of years, not to warn, not to accuse, only to preserve the truth. Here we touch a very Jungian depth. Memory does not reside in the stories we tell, but in the structures that form us. Just as in the human psyche, many memories are not recalled as images or words, but as the way we react, the way we tense, the way we avoid, the way we adapt. Corals are the same. They do not remember through thought, they remember through form. Each thicker or thinner layer of skeleton is a response to living conditions. Each structural change is a memory frozen into mineral. If you were to place your hand on an ancient coral reef, you would not be touching stone alone. You would be touching the climatic history of the earth. And if you listen in stillness, you may feel something very familiar. Memory does not disappear. It only sinks deeper. Carl Jung once said, "In each of us there is another whom we do not know." The earth is the same. Beneath the calm blue surface of the ocean lies a deep memory preserved by tiny beings we often pass by without noticing. Coral reefs do not carry memory to cling to the past. They carry memory to give the future a foundation, because only by remembering where it has been can the planet continue to adjust itself. As you listen to this part before sleep, you may sense within yourself certain nameless memories, not clear recollections but sensations, a weariness, a caution, a familiar reflex. They are not wrong. They are simply traces of what has been. Coral reefs do not try to erase memory. They allow memory to become the ground beneath them. And here you may gently whisper to yourself, you do not need to remember everything. Consciously, your body and your soul have already remembered enough. As your breathing slows, imagine your mind as an ancient coral reef. Each experience has become a layer of sediment, not loud, not judging, simply present. In the next part, we will enter an even larger rhythm, day and night, moon and tide, where coral reefs merge with the pulse of the cosmos. And for now, let this thought drift slowly through you, like warm water. You do not need to carry memory on your shoulders. It can rest quietly beneath you, supporting you, and in that stillness, sleep may draw closer in the most natural way. Part 7. Day and Night Moon and Tides, the Cosmic Rhythm of Life. After listening to the deep memories quietly preserved by coral reefs, we might imagine that everything on the ocean floor is motionless, silent, like a sleeping library. But as soon as night falls, the entire coral reef begins to awaken in a different way. Not loudly, not hurriedly, just a very slow shift of state, much like when human consciousness softens and makes space for dreams. By day, a coral reef looks like a city resting at midday. Colors grow gentler, movements become restrained, everything seems to be waiting. But when sunlight slowly withdraws from the water, when the ocean deepens into darker blue, another world begins to emerge. Night is not an ending, it is another form of life. Corals unfurl their soft tentacles like arms reaching out into the darkness, not to attack, but to receive the flow of water, to receive microscopic food, to receive chemical signals, to receive the breath of the nocturnal ocean. Fish change color. The bright daytime patterns give way to deeper, quieter tones, allowing them to blend into shadow. Bioluminescent creatures appear not as harsh light, but as soft pulses flickering gently like breathing. The entire reef does not turn on its lights. It glows only as much as needed. Here we begin to see something clearly. Coral reefs do not live by human time, but by astronomical rhythm, day and night, full moon and waning moon, tides rising and falling. The lunar cycle pulls the ocean's water like a vast planetary heartbeat, and coral reefs listen to that rhythm with their entire bodies. There are certain nights each year when the moon reaches a very precise position and the entire reef reproduces at once. Not early, not late, not mistaken. Millions of organisms release eggs and sperm in the same moment, as if the ocean itself takes a deep breath and then exhales. That precision does not come from individual intelligence, but from complete attunement with the cosmos. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Coral reefs do not look outward to decide when to live or rest. They synchronize with the inner rhythm of the planet. And at a deeper level, we begin to recognize something very close to human experience. Sleep too is a change of state, not a shutdown. When you sleep, daytime consciousness withdraws, but another system begins to operate. Dreams emerge. Deeper emotions surface. Memories are rearranged. The mind shifts into night mode. Coral reefs do the same. Day is consciousness. Night is the unconscious. Carl Jung once said, "The dream is a little hidden door in the innermost and most secret recesses of the soul." Night on the coral reef is that hidden door of the ocean. Creatures that appear only after dark, behaviors that occur only in shadow, movements too subtle to exist under harsh light. All of them require darkness in order to be themselves. The moon in this story is not merely a celestial body. It is the conductor of life's rhythm. The moon pulls the water pulls living beings. Living beings adjust their behavior. No words, no instructions, only a quiet gravitational force. Here we touch a deeply Jungian symbol. Humans do not live separate from the universe. They have simply forgotten how to listen. Coral reefs have never forgotten. They do not resist the tides. They do not try to hold a fixed state. They move with the rhythm. When water rises, they open. When water retreats, they close. When night arrives, they live differently. And if we listen long enough, we can feel a very gentle message. You do not need to be your daytime self. At night, you do not need to stay alert when your body is asking to rest. You do not need to understand everything. in order to sleep peacefully. As your breathing slows, imagine yourself drifting with the tide. No need to control, no need to navigate, simply being carried by a rhythm larger than you. Coral reefs trust the moon. They trust cycles. They trust that at the right moment everything will unfold. And here, you may softly whisper to yourself, sleep is not surrender, it is attunement. As consciousness closes, as day turns into night, as your mind softens, you are doing what coral reefs have done for millions of years, living in your true rhythm within the universe. And in that slow synchronization, sleep does not need to be achieved, it simply arrives. As this journey gently comes to its end, take a very slow moment to feel everything you have just listened to. No need to remember, no need to fully understand, just allow it to settle. You have traveled with coral reefs from tiny polyps that build vast architectures of life. You have seen how millions of beings connect, cooperate, adapt, remember, and align with the cosmos without words, without conscious effort. Coral reefs do not rush, they do not compete, they do not worry about tomorrow. They live in deep time, a form of time not measured by clocks but by cycles, rhythms, and gentle repetition. Perhaps what makes this story relaxing is not only the beauty of the ocean, but because somewhere within it touches something very ancient in you. The part that knows you do not need to control everything. To survive, you do not need to stay alert to be safe. You do not need to tense yourself in order to live. Like coral reefs, you were born within a system larger than yourself. There are rhythms at work that do not require your control. Breath comes and goes. The heart beats and rests between beats. Thoughts arise and dissolve. Carl Jung reminded us that modern humans are tired, not because they lack strength, but because they have drifted away from their own natural rhythm. Coral reefs never forgot that rhythm. They remember it in bone and stone. They remember it in form. They remember it by opening when night arrives and closing when day returns. And now, as you lie there in the familiar space that is yours, you too are being invited to do the same. No need to sleep immediately. No need to force the body. Just allow. Allow your body to shift into night mode. Allow your mind to soften like the sea when the wind calms. Allow thoughts to drift past without holding on. Imagine you are lying on the ocean floor. The light grows dim. Movement slows. Around you a coral reef is breathing. There is nothing to do, nothing to become, only presence. If today brought fatigue, let it settle like sediment. If there is worry, let the night ocean carry it away. Coral reefs have endured storms, changes, and long cycles of time by not resisting the rhythm of life. And you can too. Right now, the only thing you need to do is continue breathing and allow sleep to find you in its own way. No rush, no pressure, no expectations. If your eyelids grow heavy, let them close. If awareness fades, let it fade. You are safe. You are supported. You are returning to a deeper rhythm that coral reefs and your own body have always remembered. Thank you for being here, for listening, for giving yourself a rare pause. May your sleep be deep, peaceful, and gentle. Good night.